Thank you for joining me today for our yoga practice where we are continuing our chakra balancing series. So if you tuned into the last video, when we started this series, we worked with our first chakra, our root chakra, Muladhara. And if you did that practice, you know that we focused on the sense of grounding. We tapped into lower body energy, lower body activation in order to balance that root energy and to really get a sense of grounding and stability through that lower body. And so today, as we move into the second chakra, our sacral chakra, Swadhisthana, we are going to now focus on movement, basically, because that's what sacral chakra is about. Sacral chakra is about going with the flow. It's about moving with grace, with balance, with ease. So those are qualities of a healthy sacral chakra. And when you think about it, it's important to have that balance at the root chakra to give us that nice strong foundation, that sense of stability in order to support our movement. And we can have healthy movement, not only on the physical level, but also on the subtle level. And what I mean by that is because sacral chakra is also our emotional seat, when we're healthy in that area and when our sacral chakra energy is balanced, we're able to move through our emotions much more easily. We're able to adapt to change, which is another aspect of a healthy sacral chakra. And we're able to process and recognize our emotions and process them, giving us this high level of emotional intelligence as well. So really important to create that solid base through root chakra in order to support our movement. So in today's practice, we are going to focus on intentional, grounded movement. And we'll do so specifically in this area of the pelvis and moving the pelvis. We're going to move the whole body, but our focus will be in that sacral chakra region, which lies below the navel at the sacrum, so kind of at that center area of the pelvis. And the movement will be gentle and mindful, and the idea being for us to create flow, to create ease on a physical level, but then also to use that intentional mindful movement to move anything that might be stuck in that emotional seat. So you may notice some emotions coming up. It's possible. It may not. Doesn't necessarily happen for everyone. But if you do, know that it's okay. Know that that's part of the practice. That's part of what happens and can happen when we work with balancing sacral chakra, and it's all good. If you can allow it to come up, I encourage you just allow the emotions to come up and be with them rather than trying to resist them, and just observe and notice and move through them as best as you can. So once again, that might be a possibility, it might not, but just so that you're aware. So with that, I think we're ready. I don't think there's anything else that I need to inform you of. So let's get started with our sacral chakra balancing practice. Okay, so we're going to begin our sacral chakra balancing practice lying on our backs. So let's get down onto the mat here. And we'll start off simply by flattening out the back. So once you're down, bring those knees up, give those knees a little hug and maybe a little gentle rocking side to side to flatten out that lower back. You want to even do little circles. Sometimes that feels good too. And then once you feel like the back has flattened out and feels pretty good, bring those feet down onto the mat and take them wide and allow your knees to come together into constructive rest. And that's what we call this pose. And just allowing the legs to settle. And when we come into this shape, it helps to create some space at the sacrum. We allow the sacrum to kind of broaden and open up in that area. And so allowing the legs to settle here, really feel, let your weight sink and feel, bring your awareness to that sacral region and just feel your weight sinking down into the mat, especially at that sacral region. Now, I'll invite you to bring your hands to, one hand to the heart and one hand on the abdomen, just gently resting your hands there. And let's just take these first few moments to check in with the body, just noticing if you're maybe holding any tension, maybe squeezing through the jaw, the eyes, the forehead, the face, or maybe squeezing at the shoulders. Maybe do any kind of little gentle movement you might need to do in order to take a couple big breaths, just letting the body relax. One of my kitties is serenading us right now. So notice that breath, maybe taking a few more nice big breaths to relax the body here. Beautiful. So now we'll begin by gently releasing those knees from being together and straightening out the legs. And let's point the toes away from us. Take those arms back, palms face up. Let's come into a nice full body stretch, lengthen. So reach the toes and the fingertips away from each other, and your body will come into an arc. So you can see my back is arcing here. Allow the body or the back to arc. And as that happens, your chin might kind of tuck inward towards your chest. Take a few big breaths here in this full body stretch as we lengthen and open up that front body. And then we're going to do a little rippling movement, and that's going to entail engaging or flexing the feet. So flex the feet first, then pull up through the pelvic floor. So engage the pelvic floor gently, push the navel down so that now the lower ribs are pressing down and there's not as much of an arc. It's a smaller arc in your lower back. And then turn the palms to face each other so your shoulder blades roll out a bit. And now your neck is going to feel a little more neutral. So holding this for a breath, and then we're going to toggle back and forth between that. So inhaling, go ahead into that full body stretch, palms face up, toes point, arcing the back. Exhaling, flex the feet, engage the pelvic floor and the navel, turn the palms to face each other, and then continue that flow. So we're going to do this a few times, just beginning to activate lower body, activate that pelvic floor, lower abdominal region by engaging the navel downward as you exhale. And we're basically coming into kind of a supine upward salute when we exhale and we activate the body. We'll do that one more time. Nice big breath on that inhale, opening up, and then exhale, activate, engage, beautiful. Now keep that core gently engaged right where it is with the pelvic floor and the navel pressing down. Slowly bring those feet up onto the mat and bring those heels right under the knees. The arms, you can decide where you want your arms. Sometimes I like to keep my arms up. Sometimes I keep them in cactus arms or maybe into that T shape. Or even if you want them at your side, that's fine too. So allow the arms to rest and your shoulders to be comfortable wherever you are with this. I'm going to have my arms out to the side like a T so that you're able to see the pelvic rocking movement we're going to do. So inhaling, we're going to rock the pelvis forward. Again, that bigger arc in that lower back. And then exhaling, once again, press that navel down. So as you start this movement, check in with the grounding through the feet. Remember last time when we worked with Muladhara Chakra, we lifted those toes to get that even grounding all around the edges of the feet. I think of them also as the tripod points, the base of the big toe, base of the pinky toes, and the base of the heels. So once you feel yourself nicely grounded through the feet, pressing down gently in order to stay rooted to the mat through the feet so that you have stability, that is giving this pelvic rocking stability so that one of the things that will help is that the knees will be less likely to splay out if you ground through your feet that way. If you still find it challenging where the knees want to splay after you ground through your feet, imagine that you're squeezing a block between your knees, or you could actually take a block and squeeze it between your knees in order to keep those knees from splaying outward. As you do this intentional, mindful pelvic rocking movement, inhaling the pelvis forward, exhaling, pressing the navel down. So flow with your breath. if you haven't been doing that already. And again, make this nice and mindful. Doesn't matter how many we do. Really feel the movement coming from that stable, grounded place as we begin to move the energy at the sacral chakra region at the center of the pelvis. We'll do one more of these pelvic rocking movements. And the next time you exhale, keep that core gently engaged, pressing down. And let's lift the feet up and bring the knees so that they're facing the ceiling, straight up. So you could take your hands and kind of hold your knees. You might go underneath the knees and hold this way. So whichever way feels best to you, let's just keep that core gently engaged so that your pelvic floor is engaged and your navel is pressing down. Feel the flattening of the back right at the lower back region. And from this place, let's just roll these ankles a few times in both directions. You might even do them singularly, alternating. So just move those ankles around a little bit. Awesome. And then relax the feet. Let the feet and ankles be fully relaxed. And we're going to take, again, you can hold wherever you want. I prefer to hold my knees at the top. We're going to take those knees wide. So let the feet and ankles be relaxed as you take your legs wide as you can, comfortably here, holding those legs, and just breathe. So your arms might even offer a little bit of gentle pull or tug. You're not forcefully pulling them apart, but just allowing the weight of the legs to come apart as best as you can, feeling maybe some stretch in the inner thigh, the groin, as we open up that pelvic region a little bit. Taking a couple of breaths here as you continue to allow your sacrum to settle downward. One more nice big breath here. And then we're going to do a little rocking, twisting movement. So as we take that next inhale, we're going to actually inhale at center. And then as we exhale, we're going to allow the left knee to go. Bring that right knee up and rock over to your left side. And then inhaling, bring that right knee up to center, all the way back out to that open position. And then exhale, rock the knees to the other side. So we're going to continue this flow, and this is a really nice, slow, steady, mindful flow. As you inhale to center, coming into that open position, and then as you exhale to either side. And as you're doing this, it's almost as if the weight of the legs is causing the movement. So as I inhale and I bring the one leg up, the pull of that leg helps bring the other leg up. And then as I bring the other leg down, the pull of that leg causes the other leg to come down over top of it. So just really notice if you can be very intentional and mindful with this rocking movement, breathing through the legs, the hips, flowing that breath, trying to make this as fluid a movement as you can, creating as much ease in this movement as you can. So we're going to do one more where you end on that right side and allow the legs to just rest there. So take those legs as far out to into the twist as you can. If you feel you need to grab your blanket so that your legs are comfortably supported, please do so. We want the legs to feel supported here. So if they're hanging and not able to go all the way down to the floor, make sure you grab a blanket or a towel and rest your legs on that. So from this place where the legs are now fully supported over to the right side, inhale, take that left arm up, and then exhaling, bend the elbow and just ease that arm back into that half T shape. And maybe your arm might not go all the way down, it might hang, your shoulder might hang. And if that's the case, bend the elbow, keep the elbow bent, and see if you can get that elbow to come down. So let's see if we can get the elbow to come down as best as we can, breathing into that slow, gentle movement. Don't make this movement forceful so as to pull on that shoulder blade. Now, if that elbow comes down, and if you feel like that's available to you to straighten out the arm, go ahead and do that. And if that doesn't feel good, if that causes you to kind of lift at that shoulder again, then just keep that elbow bent. Okay, so do what feels right for you. And we're going to hang here for just a couple more breaths as we come into the spinal twist. Beautiful. Now, if your arm is straight out, go ahead and bend at the elbow. Inhale, reach it up, and then bring your hand to your knee. On that next breath, bring it back to center, that nice open neutral place. And then exhaling, let's go to the other side. So taking your knees all the way down, and again, grab your blanket, your block, your towel in order to support the knees if they need it here. Inhale that right arm up and bend the elbow. Begin to gracefully ease that arm down towards the floor, leading with the elbow. Now, if for some reason, which is perfectly fine, the elbow doesn't come all the way down, then there too, you can grab a blanket or a towel that's nearby so you can rest your elbow on a support if you're not comfortable allowing the elbow to come all the way down to the floor. So once you are supporting that elbow either on a blanket, a towel, or on the floor, if it feels available to you to straighten that arm, you can certainly do that. You decide where you want to be with this as we hold it for a couple more breaths here in this spinal twist. Letting go, breathing into the back, breathing into the hips. And then with that next breath, bend that elbow once again, and then inhale, reach it up to the ceiling, and then exhale, bring the hand to your knees. Inhale, come back to that center place with the knees wide. One more time, holding it there. Let that sacral region press into the floor, opening up. And then on an exhale, bring those knees together. Bring those knees in. Let's hug those knees, maybe once again doing some rocking, some circles, and then slowly bringing those feet back down. Wonderful. So now let's take those knees to the side, roll to one side, and gently bring yourself back up, coming into a bound angle in your seat. So a bound angle is bringing the feet to touch, and the knees are out. Here again, we might support, here are my blocks. I might take my blocks or a couple of towels or blankets, cushions, pillows, whatever you have available, and I might support myself here in this, this bound angle, this seated bound angle. So allow the lower body to settle. Feel your sit bones pressing down into the floor. Let the legs ease downward. So create that base. We were talking about that foundation when we activate and balance root chakra, creating that place of stability from which to do our movements. So find that groundedness, that rootedness through your sit bones, your lower body settling down, and just take a couple moments here. Maybe you take a few breaths in and out as you lift that spine, relax the face, relax the shoulders. And then we're going to begin to do some spinal movement here by doing some seated cat-cows. So you may decide when it comes to the seated spinal cat-cow, sometimes it actually feels better to have the feet further out. So if it feels a little bit better to you to have more of a diamond shape rather than a bound angle, certainly you can play with that and explore what feels good too. So I'm actually going to bring my feet out a little bit more. I'm going to get my buns out of the way to make sure I'm settled once again and grounded into my sit bones. Hands are come to the shins or anywhere along the legs that feels good to you. On the inhale, we're going to rock the pelvis forward, lift that heart, shoulders glide back and down, and maybe the head goes up if that feels good. Exhaling, press the navel back. Then the heart goes back. Then the head comes down, arms lengthen as we round through the back. On the inhale, we start with the pelvis. The head stays down. The pelvis rocks forward. The navel comes forward. The heart comes forward. And the head comes up. So we're going to do this real mindful cat-cow, seated cat-cow movement, leading with the pelvis. So we stay grounded on those sit bones, and the pelvis rocks forward or back first, depending on which direction you're going. The navel, the heart, and the head follow after that in that order. So making this a nice fluid
easeful movement. Let's do a couple more of these seated cat-cows.
Breathing with that movement, let your breath guide you. Pelvis moving first, being mindful as we ripple up and down the spine with this movement. And the next time you exhale, let's hold that just for an extra couple breaths. Feeling the sit bones pressing down, legs pressing down, arms extended, stretching all through the back side of the body. Navel presses inward as we really activate that core here, but keep breathing, don't hold your breath. And then on that next inhale, roll it back. Upright pelvis, chest, shoulders relax, and the head comes back to center. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to take those blocks away. And then just bring those feet closer to your body if you had them a little bit further out. A little butterfly flutter here. Shake out those legs, those hips a little bit. And then we'll bring those feet up. So bringing those feet up wide. Bring the hands behind you, leaning back just a little bit. Again, staying really grounded, rooted through those sit bones. Let's begin a little side to side rocking again. So just kind of side to side with the knees, inhaling at center, exhaling to one side. We'll do that a few times. And the next time you go to the left, we're going to hold it there. So I like to kind of bring myself up a little bit more because I want to allow my left leg and left knee to go all the way down, and my right leg is going to hang a little bit here. So this is where, again, always use your supports when needed. If you need something under that left knee or even under the right knee, because that doesn't feel comfortable to let it hang. If it feels like too much pull on the hip or the knee, please support that upper leg as well. Otherwise, we're just going to let the leg kind of ease downward. So letting go of any engagement in that right leg, just letting it get heavy so that the weight of the leg with gravity pulling on it creates the stretch and the opening for us. So we'll do that for a couple breaths and then walk those hands up a little bit more. And if that knee comes all the way down, great. If it doesn't, again, let's support it with something. And the left hand is going to come out to the side a little bit more in order to help that knee come down either onto the floor or onto a support. And we'll take our right hand, and the heel of the hand is going to come right into the hip crease here, right at that joint. So just gently place your hand, the heel of your hand, into that hip crease. And as you're not really pressing all that hard at all. In fact, you're not really pressing. You're just letting the weight of the hand sink into that hip crease, and you'll feel a little more opening at that right hip joint by simply placing the heel of your hand there and letting the weight of your hand sink into that. So as you hold that space right there with the right hand, we're going to start a little movement. So inhaling, we're going to lead with the heart and roll that right hip up a little bit. And then exhaling, we're going to bring it back down. So we're going to do this movement and make sure your left hand is feeling supported, or that you feel supported through your left hand, I should say. So ground through that left hand here as well as that left hip as we come into this little rocking movement through the pelvis as we open up that right hip joint a little bit too here. So you can maintain your hand at that hip if that feels okay to you, if that's where you want to be, just really focusing on this movement. You could also add movement through that right hand, right arm. So if it feels comfortable for you to begin flowing that right arm, feel free to do that and explore the movement here. Again, Sacral Chakra is about movement, about flowing, about tapping into the emotions that we might be feeling and moving those emotions. So this may be helpful in doing that. This actual physical flowing movement may be helpful in flowing whatever we might be feeling. So take your time to explore here. Again, this is an optional thing with the arm, but it can feel really good as you do this movement a couple more times. Mindfully gracefully, easefully. And then next time you come down, let's take that arm toward the floor as we bring that right knee up, coming back to where we started. A couple times, little windshield wiper movement side to side. And then we're going to do this on the other side. So first just drop that right knee, adjust yourself, maybe adjust your hand placement so that you can let that left leg either hang or again support it if that's too much pull on the knee or the hip. And we take a few big breaths here, just letting the weight of the leg go. You might even see how as I'm doing that, my left leg is just slowly sinking, going closer to the floor. And I'm feeling a nice opening at that left hip and stretch all along that left thigh as I continue to breathe and just let the weight of that left leg, let it go. So we'll take one more breath here as we try to open up that left hip. And then walking the hands maybe closer to the body in a way that allows you to rest that knee. So again, on the floor or on a support, whatever you need to do to rest that left knee as well. Supporting ourselves, grounding through the right hand, taking the heel of the left hand right into that hip crease, and just letting the weight of the hand sink into that hip crease in order to create a little more space there. Noticing how that feels, and just let that hip open up the way it needs to. Release engagement or resistance to this. Sometimes there's that tendency to resist when we let the hand press down into the leg. And when you feel ready, then we'll begin the movement. So inhaling, lead with that heart as we take that hip forward, and then bringing it back on the exhale. So do this a few times with that hand in place. And again, your choice to just keep the hand there the entire time. But if you want to explore the movement with the arm on this side, when you're ready, you can flow that arm in whichever way might feel good to you, really reaching maybe as you twist, maybe taking it overhead, maybe doing all sorts of different movements with that arm, with that shoulder. Breathe with it. Feel the fluidity of that movement. Feel the flowiness, the rhythmic movement, the graceful movement, the easeful movement. Staying grounded through that right hand, right hip. We'll do a couple more breaths here with this. Awesome. And the next time your arm comes back, we're going to lift that left knee up. Come back to that neutral seat with the feet planted, knees wide. Just a few more windshield wipers. Coming back into more of a neutral place with our hips. Wonderful. And then straighten out those legs. So just have a slight lean back as you straighten out the legs. Roll those ankles, shake out those knees, and then flex the feet. So activate the lower body by flexing the feet, engaging, pressing down through the heels, pressing down through the calves, the sit bones. Walk those hands closer to the body and see if we can come totally upright into a staff pose. So as we come into that staff pose, engaging that core if you haven't already to make it strong. Pelvic floor engages, the navel pushes back, lower abdominal region is strong here. Just a couple breaths, relax the shoulders down toward the floor. Soft face, give yourself a smile. That's always a nice way to soften the face if you have that tendency to grip in the jaw or the forehead. One more breath here. Awesome. And then shake it out once again. And we're going to come onto our hands and knees into a table pose. So come on over. Here again, use a blanket under your knees or a towel under your knees if you need that added support for your knees. Same thing with the wrists. We can roll up. I always like using a hand towel for this because it's the perfect size. But if I roll up a hand towel and place the heels of my hands on the towel and my fingers on the mat, then I give my wrists some extra support as well. So if you need that added support for your wrists, please give yourself that as well. So as we come into our table pose, just really ground. Once again, we got to have that nice strong foundation, activating root chakra energy to ground through the hands and the knees and the tops of the feet. Or if you feel more comfortable curling the toes, you can curl the toes and ground through your toes instead. Now from this place, we're going to take those knees wide. So taking those knees wide, take a nice breath here, and then exhale, we're going to go into a wide knee child pose. So take those hips back as far as you can comfortably, and then bringing your head down, again, support the head. So if we are uncomfortable taking the head all the way down, we bring a block, a blanket, a cushion under the head. So resting that head, arms are reaching forward, and just take a couple of big breaths, breathing into the hips. So we've got the hips nice and open here in our wide knee child pose. We're going to take a few big breaths, and as you breathe, imagine the breath flowing right into the pelvis, each breath helping to ground you further into the floor, through the legs, through the hips, feeling the hips settle toward the heels as best as they can. Feeling opening at that back side. And then we're going to open up the side body a little bit here while we're here, just to give the upper body a little attention. So with that next in-breath, turn to look. You're going to rock over to the left a little bit so that you're turning to look over your right, or under your right arm, I should say. And just pressing into the floor with your hands as you do this. And you'll feel a nice opening or stretching on the side of the body. And then come back to center. Press into the floor with your right arm as you look and turn your head to look under your left arm or armpit region. And then come back to center. Let's do this a couple more times at your own pace. Just turning the body. Turning the head, I should say, not so much the body, to look under the arm, each arm. And as you do that, the opposite arm presses down, giving yourself a little extra opening and stretch. So as you finish this last one, come back to center. And then begin to gently walk those hands toward the body, easing your way up. And you're going to get about halfway. So as you get about halfway, we're going to ease ourselves into a Yogi Squat. So once you're about halfway up, let's lift those hips, curl those toes under, and actually take the toes a little bit wider as you curl them under. And we're going to continue to walk our way up and lift those knees up as you do that. This is where, again, make sure you've got some supports nearby, whether it's blocks, cushions, blankets, whatever it is. And as you bring your knees up, you might use your support here to come into your version of our Yogi Squat or Malasana. So supporting yourself. Now some people, their Yogi Squat may be right here, and that's perfectly fine. If this is what feels available to you today, by all means, just stay here. We want to feel steady and rooted and grounded, right? We don't go any further if we don't feel that. That's what we build upon. So wherever you are with this, if you're comfortable coming all the way up, you can come up. Now, we're going to just rock side to side. And as you rock side to side, wherever you are, those heels or those feet are going to come a little bit wider apart. Again, taking them to the extent that it feels good to you. And if you get to that point where you feel like this is where my feet need to be, then if you're comfortable bringing those heels down, you could even bring those heels down. If not, that's okay. Your heels can be up. Stay supported. And your hands can stay on a support to give you that extra balance. If you're comfortable with the full pose, we might use our elbows to push back a little bit against the knees so that they don't cave inward. Continuing to ground through those feet. Whether your heels are down or not, we want to ground through those feet. Opening up that that sacral region, that pelvic region here. Breathe. Take those nice big breaths and expand through the hips, expand through the pelvis. We might bring hands to prayer, or we might just allow our hands to relax down, or we might be on our support with our hands as well. So just take a couple more breaths here in your yogi squat. Your upper body is lifted, trying not to round and roll into your gut. So engage that core. And then with that next breath, we're going to ease it back down. So bring your hands back down slowly, mindfully. Move those knees back to the floor as you make space, coming back into your table pose. So once you're back into your nicely aligned table pose, grounded through your hands and your feet, your knees, we're going to relax and release those legs that just did a lot of good work for us and supporting us in that yogi squat. So right leg is out, we're pressing the toes down, pushing that right heel back, and maybe bring your hands forward, just a teeny bit forward from your shoulders, and we'll begin to do a little movement here. So inhaling, take those shoulders over those hands once again. Exhaling, go behind the hands as you push back through that right heel. So just a little forward and back, rocking, creating space in that right leg, right hip, breathing, imagining that energy flowing through the lower body. From the heel, from the toes, the foot, the heel, up through the leg, up through that hip, creating space, creating openness, nice flowing fluid movement. Awesome. And then we'll come back to center and let's do the other side, of course. Breathing with this gentle movement. There's not much to this, but the more we do it with intention and awareness, paying attention, synchronizing breath and movement, visualizing perhaps even the energy flowing through that lower body, opening up at the sacral region. Couple more here on this side, and then bringing that knee down. Wonderful. So from here, we're going to ease ourselves onto the mat on our bellies, coming into a crocodile pose. So for this, we will take our hands, and there's a couple options here. You can bring hands to opposite elbow, and then we would rest our forehead on the top arm. If that's not comfortable, you can also just place hand on hand and rest your head on your hands. The feet will go wide and we'll point the toes outward. Heels roll inward if that feels okay to you. So you decide on that arm positioning. Oh, and then take a few big breaths. As you know, if you've been following my videos and my routines, I love to sound out. Sigh out, sound out on the exhale, a great way to just let go and release whatever you might have been holding on to. So a couple of nice big breaths and feel the weight of your body sinking into the floor. Feel the weight of your legs, feel the front of your pelvis, your pubic bone area sinking into the floor. Feel the weight of your arms sinking into the floor. Just observe your energy, observe the sensations through your body. And take 2 more nice big breaths here. And as we take that next breath, begin to gently lift the head. Bring those arms underneath, and we're simply going to roll over onto our backs. So just take your time to gently roll onto your backs here. Coming back like when we started. And like when we started, we'll bring those knees in And flatten out that back, hugging the knees, maybe rocking, maybe doing circles. Wonderful. And when you feel comfortable, when you feel sufficiently at ease with your lower back, go ahead and bring those feet down. We're going to do one more thing. Where's my block? So again, grab your block, grab your cushion, maybe your folded blanket, and let's bring the heels under the knees. Gently lift the hips up. Bring that block right under the pelvis, right at your sacrum. So not on your spine. It should feel pretty comfortable. If you have it in the right place at your sacrum, it will feel pretty stable. And once you're there, and I have it on the lower setting, but you certainly could put this on the medium setting or the medium height of the block as well. So depending on what feels right to you, you can certainly decide where you want to be with this. Again, making sure that it feels comfortable. Arms are either out to the side like a T or by your side, or perhaps even straight out. Again, the positioning of the arms really is up to you. And just let the sacrum once again settle. Feel the weight of your body settling downward, feet into the floor. Your pelvis, your sacrum into the block or the support, whatever it might be for you. Your shoulders, your arms into the floor, and the back of your head into the floor, just letting yourself get heavy. And then with that next breath, let's gently bring the right knee up, the left knee up, again, pointing the knees to the ceiling like we had done earlier. Give those ankles a little movement if you like. And then gently raise the one leg up and the other leg, and just coming into this modified legs up the wall. Allowing the legs to get as relaxed and as soft as possible. So maybe even imagining the feeling of your legs floating. So there's obviously a certain level of effort in order to hold the legs up in this upright position. But we want to bring as much ease to that effort as possible. So as you breathe into the legs, just feel your sacral area continuing to ground and press down. Your upper body also relaxed and pressing downward naturally. And from that base, feel the legs gently lengthening to the sky, softening and floating in the air. Find your breath, feel your breath. We worked with all sorts of fluid movement, flowing movement to access that sacral chakra energy. And now we're just allowing the body to come into a restful place to soothe that nervous system, to soothe the emotions. And if the legs are shaking, it's okay, no worries, it's all good. That's exactly what needs to happen if that's what's happening for you. It's not a bad thing. We're going to take one more breath here, nice big breath, and then very gently and slowly on the exhale, bring one heel down, bring the other heel down, pointing the knees to the sky, and then slowly bringing one foot down, followed by the other one. Plant those feet firmly and evenly, and then gently pressing into the feet, lift those hips so you can move that block away. And as you bring your pelvis down one last time, if you'd like to flatten out the back, go right ahead. And then we will meet in Shavasana. So go ahead and lie fully extended on your back. Arms are relaxed to your side. Legs are naturally comfortable and splayed. And of course, you are supporting yourself here as you need to. I'm going to ease my way up, but you are going to stay in your Shavasana, your final relaxation pose. And again, use a blanket under your knees if that feels good to you. Use a towel or blanket under your head if that feels good to you. Perhaps cover up with a blanket. Perhaps use an eye pillow. Whatever you like to use for your Shavasana, for your final relaxation. And once you've settled in that pose, I invite you to notice the body, checking in with any area that may still feel held in any way or tense. And just taking a couple big breaths, guiding the breath into those areas if you feel there is some resistance or tension or holding that still exists. And with each exhale, imagining the weight of the body settling into the floor, imagining letting go of any holding, any engagement. And then bringing awareness to your breathing and noticing the flow of breath as it flows in and out of your body. And perhaps even visualizing that flow of breath to be similar to the flow of the waves of the ocean. Perhaps imagining that your inhale is the ebbing of a wave, and that your exhale is the flowing of that same wave. So if that visualization works for you, allow yourself to breathe with the ebb and flow of the waves, your breath being the waves that ebb and flow to and from your body. Just like the waves of the ocean ebb and flow to the earth. The water element is the element of Sacral Chakra. So visualizing the flowing water can be supportive when balancing Sacral Chakra and working with it. I invite you now to land your awareness in that space under the navel or below the navel, at your sacrum in the center of the pelvis. And perhaps you visualize orange energy, orange being the color of Sacral Chakra energy, Swadhisthana energy. As you maintain your awareness in that space around the sacral region, the center of the pelvis, perhaps seeing that orange Swadhisthana energy there, perhaps continuing to feel the ebb and flow of breath, like the ebb and flow of the ocean. I invite you to feel the essence of the following words that describe healthy, balanced sacral energy. Sensual, creative, flowing, balanced, pleasing, joyful, just feeling the energy of those words. Sensual, creative, balanced, flowing, pleasing, invite you now to take a nice big breath in and out. You might sound out, sigh out once again if that feels good to you. And we'll do 2 more nice big breaths just like that. And when you're ready to begin to reawaken the body with some gentle movement, feel free to start wiggling fingers and toes and moving those ankles and wrists, maybe turning the head gently left to right. Eventually you bring one foot up followed by the other. And you may even flatten out that back one more time. When you're ready to turn to one side, go ahead and turn to either side, whatever feels right to you today. Pausing there briefly. And then gently easing your way back upright into a comfortable seat as you ground through those sit bones, as you lift the spine tall. I invite you to bring your hands to your heart space. And with that next big breath, gently bowing your head to your own heart. Namaste. I thank you for sharing in this practice with me. And again, I encourage you to continue to do this practice, or maybe even specific elements of this practice that felt good to you, that felt useful to you, in order to continue practicing creating balance with that sacral energy, that Swadhisthana energy. And it's a good thing to do whenever we may be feeling maybe a little over emotional, or maybe we're feeling a little numb to our emotions, or maybe we're just feeling like we need some movement and we need to create flow in the body. So once again, thank you for joining me, and until next time, be well.